We will be joined, as announced, by our good friends from the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, who will, thanks for walking in front of the camera.
It's high above my head.
Yeah, so much is above your head, yes. All right, we will be joined by our friends in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, who will brief you on the world economic situation and prospects mid-year report. The briefers will be Shantanu Mukherjee, DESA's Director of Economic Analysis and Policy Division, and he will be joined by Hamid Rashid, the lead author of the report, who is also the chief of the Global Economic Monitoring Branch and Economic Analysis in DESA. The Secretary General is now back in New York. Yesterday, at a press encounter in the afternoon with Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, Mr. Guterres said that when we look at today's international financial architecture, we are facing immoral, power, and practical problems. These problems, he added, are impacting countries like Jamaica. He said it is important to hear the perspective of the Prime Minister so that he's able to translate the dramatic needs and interest of developing countries and countries like Jamaica in initiatives we are developing, and also when he will be addressing G7 leaders later this week. Turning to Haiti, the Secretary General reiterated the need expressed in his proposal to the Security Council last year for a non-UN international police force to crack down on gangs. This, he added, needs to take place in parallel with the political process. He acknowledged that this has been a difficult exercise, but once again asked the international community to understand that an effective solidarity with Haiti is not only a matter of generosity, it is essentially a matter of enlightened self-interest, because the present situation in Haiti reflects a threat to the security of the region as a whole and further afield. Transcript was shared with you. Also on Haiti, our emergency relief coordinator, Martin Griffiths, allocated $9 million from the Central Emergency Response Fund to support relief efforts in the country. As you know, Haiti has seen a massive deterioration of the humanitarian situation due to exploding violence and insecurity. Overall, the number of people who need humanitarian assistance in Haiti has doubled over the past 5 years, raising to 5.2 million people. This includes 30% jump in the number of children suffering severe acute malnutrition compared to a year ago. This year's humanitarian response plan for Haiti is the largest since the devastating 2010 earthquake. Unfortunately, our $720 million appeal for Haiti is only 12% funded. This morning, the Security Council held a briefing on the G5 Sahel. In remarks to the Security Council, Martha Poby, the Assistant Secretary General for Africa, said that the G5 Sahel Joint Force has made steady progress in its operationalization and is also restructuring itself to following Mali's withdrawal from the force and the reconfiguration of European and French forces in the area. Ms. Poby also mentioned the expected end in June of the tripartite agreement between the European Union, the G5 Sahel, and the UN. But she added the international community's efforts have fallen short of what is required to render the joint force fully operational and autonomous with the capacity to help stabilize the Sahel region. Resolute advances in the fight against terrorism, violent extremism, and organized crime in the Sahel are desperately needed. Without significant gains, she said, it will become increasingly difficult to reverse the security trajectory in the Sahel and further expansion of insecurity towards coastal West African countries. Turning to Sudan, we, along with our humanitarian partners, are continuing to scale up our response to the spiraling needs all over the country. The World Health Organization has delivered 30 tons of medical supply to Al Jazeera State. Trauma supplies to treat 2,400 people were delivered yesterday to 5 hospitals there and 3 hospitals in the capital, Khartoum. WHO also supports the delivery of critical items to its partners and has additional supplies in the pipeline. Those will be released as soon as security situation and logistics situation allow. Meanwhile, our humanitarian partners are resuming operations in some states in the Darfur region. For example, in North Darfur, UNICEF has helped deliver some 235,000 liters of clean water to 8 healthcare facilities and 1 nutrition center. UNICEF is also distributing water, sanitation, and health supplies to nearly 15,700 patients at more than a dozen healthcare facilities. In the eastern Darfur, UNICEF has provided clean water to some 40,000 people in the El Nin camp for internally displaced people. And just as an illustration of the regional impact of the crisis in Sudan, our team in Chad tells us that following the start of the conflict in neighboring Sudan a month ago, approximately 80,000 people have arrived in the country, including 60,000 refugees and 20,000 Chadians who are returning home. To give you a bit of context, Chad was already home to over 1 million forcibly displaced people, including about 600,000 refugees, mainly from Sudan, the Central African Republic, Cameroon, and Nigeria. So far, 3,000 refugee families have received non-food items from UNHCR and UNICEF. UNICEF has also installed water points and distribution water treatment material, ready-to-use therapeutic food, and as well as essential medicines to health centers to ensure the treatment of children suffering from acute malnutrition. World Food Program, for its part, has distributed food and nutrition supplies to more than 20,000 refugees in 8 different locations along the eastern border, while the UN Population Fund is boosting reproductive health support and dignity kits and other supplies. Our team, led by the resident humanitarian coordinator, Violet Kakioma, is concerned about the imminent start of the rainy season as thousands of people need transportation from border areas to other locations before roads become obstructed. The government of Chad and the UN are calling on international partners to provide more financial and material assistance to refugees and returnees. And in Myanmar, the information we've received says that Cyclone Maka has been one of the strongest ever to hit the country. They say that 5.4 million people are expected to have been in the path of the cyclone in Rakhine and in the northwest. Right now, health relief items, shelter and water, sanitation, hygiene support are the top priorities given the high risk of waterborne and communicable diseases. Our colleagues say that to deliver aid, humanitarian agencies will need access to people impacted by the cyclone, as well as expedited travel authorization and custom clearance for supplies. We also need a massive investment of food. Massive investment of funds. The 764 million humanitarian response plan is less than 10% funded. And as you know, some 17.6 million men, women, and children are already in need of humanitarian assistance in Myanmar, and that was before this cyclone. Also on Myanmar, but on a different topic, tomorrow at 11 a.m., Tom Andrews, the Special Rapporteur on the Human Rights Situation in Myanmar, will be in this very room to speak to you. Want to flag that the Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Joyce Msuya, is in Bogota, Colombia, for a 5-day visit to the country. She's meeting with senior officials from the government, representative of aid organizations, and humanitarian donors. While in Colombia, she will underscore the UN's continued support for government efforts to end the armed conflict and respond to humanitarian emergencies. Just want to flag that our colleagues in Nairobi at the UN Environment Program say that plastic pollution could be reduced by 80% and result in the savings of over $300 billion a year if countries and companies make deep policy and market shifts using existing technologies. The report recommends first eliminating unnecessary plastics to reduce the size of the problem, and then implementing the reuse, recycle, and reorientation and diversification of plastic products. The report also suggests ways to deal with the remaining plastic pollution legacy. It's available on the internet. Today is the International Day of Living Together in Peace. Yes, it's a good day. Living together in peace means accepting differences and having the ability to listen, to recognize, respect, and appreciate others. Also, we observe today the International Day of Light. Light plays a role in science, culture, art, education, and sustainable development in fields as diverse as medicine, communications, and energy. Tomorrow is the World Telecommunications and Information Society Day, and this year the International Telecommunications Union is focusing on empowering the least developed countries through information and communication technologies. To mark the day, there'll be an event at ITU headquarters in Geneva, 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. local time. to showcase the work the ITU does together with member states and partners to support least developed countries. There will be a live stream if you want. And today we received payment, which brings us up to 107 from only one of two diarchies in the world. The first diarchy already paid its dues, and that was San Marino. What is a diarchy, and which is the second diarchy in the world? Okay, it rhymes with Pandora. Andorra. And do we know where a diarchy is? It's a state that has two co-heads of states. And the two co-heads of states of Andorra are? No, it's the two. They are the two co-princes. It's the president of France and the bishop of Urgell in Catalonia, who is Juan Eric Vives Sicilia. You've all learned a lot today. Sherwin.
Speaking about peace, South Africa's President Ramaphosa briefed the media today and said, put forward an African peace initiative. He says he spoke to the Secretary General that welcomed this initiative. What is the Secretary General's detailed response to this initiative out of South Africa?
The Secretary General did receive a phone call from President Ramaphosa late yesterday afternoon while he was in Jamaica. I think, as we've said before, we are in favor of any initiative that could lead us to a peace in line with the Charter, in line with international law, and in line with General Assembly resolutions. Edith.
Thank you, Steph. We're now 2 days away from the expiration of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. If there is a block from any country, what's happening on the ground? Is there an expert meeting taking place in Turkey and in Istanbul? And has the Secretary General been on the phone with world leaders trying to ensure that this is extended?
Contacts are going on at different levels. We're obviously in a delicate stage. The Secretary General has been kept abreast of the situation. He's been talking to Martin Griffiths and others, and I will leave it at that for now.
And as far as a meeting is concerned?
Well, all I can tell you right now is that contacts are continuing with different representatives at different levels. Okay, Alan.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I have a short question, please. The head of the Ukrainian military intelligence, Kirill Budanov, basically today he just admitted that Kiev is involved in terrorist attacks against the Russian famous civilians. He held an interview and he was asked, quote, he was asked whether Kiev could get Vladimir Solovyov, that's the famous Russian anchor, and some other famous journalists. And his answer was, quote, "We have already got many, including public and media personalities," end of quote. Any comments from the UN?
I haven't seen the quote. I'm not able to talk to the veracity of it. We, of course, stand against any and all acts of terrorism all over the world. Okay, Linda.
Thank you, Steph. Going back to the Black Sea Initiative, this may have been addressed, but if the 18th, if there's no agreement, what happens?
You know, I don't want to speculate about what will happen between now and the 18th. What I will just say again that the Black Sea Grain Initiative, along with the MOU with the Russian Federation on fertilizer and grain exports from Russia, are critical to keeping global food prices down, and we hope that all involved will live up to their responsibilities to ensure that these programs continue. Yes, Edie.
Just one further question. What's the Secretary General planning to do to follow up on his comments yesterday in Jamaica on Haiti in trying to get a non-UN police force?
Well, you know, he will continue to raise the issue as he meets with member states. I think he was very supportive of Jamaica's leadership in CARICOM, especially on the political track. As the Secretary General said, it is, he felt that there may have been some reluctance from those who could provide the robust police force to do so without a political track. So he's encouraging and will continue to encourage both those tracks. Abdelhamid.
First, I will start with Sudan. It looks like the ceasefire is not holding. Can you update us with the contacts that have been made in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and where is the situation now from the point of view of political purpose?
Abdelhamid, I can't hear you very well, but I understood your question to be about Sudan. Yes, it's a fact that the fighting is continuing in many parts of the country. It's a fact that those paying the price for that are civilians. We are seeing the movement of people trying to reach other countries for safety, whether that's Chad or Egypt or South Sudan or other places. It is incumbent on those who have a finger on the trigger to let go of that trigger and engage in substantive political discussions. Mr. Pertz, we expect him to be in New York next week, and we're arranging, he's committed to doing some media interaction with you. What form that will take, we're still trying to work that out, but we hope to have him in front of a microphone, either in this room or the stakeout next week.
My second question, if you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
If any of the senior officials at the Secretariat had met with President Abbas yesterday?
I know this, neither the Secretary General nor the Deputy Secretary General were in New York. I know he had an interaction with Rosemary DiCarlo because she was at the event. I'm not aware that any meetings were requested from the other side. Okay. I will go get our guests, and I'll be right back.